Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap Fight to Win 226 in San Diego, headlined by Baret Yoshida getting a sub win over Tony Lopez. Also on the card was Eldar Cruz versus Kevin Crane. We are going to preview Finishers Survivor Series 3 and talk about really a gigantic stacked Absolute 16-man tournament that BJJ Stars is putting on. It's one of the biggest stacked Absolutes we've seen in forever. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We decided to do the show. We're going to do it tomorrow. Now we're doing it on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So assume that any news that we have is going to change, much like kind of last week's news that we had change. So we have some news. We only have a couple matches today we're going to preview, but the Absolute for BJJ Stars is
huge.
One of the craziest Absolutes we've seen in the last couple of years.
It's kind of a little bit of everybody. It's all the big names.
Yeah.
I mean, minus like Margali. That's the only person's really
pretty much in the gi. Yeah, it's the only guy that's not there of note. Yeah. And then you got Mica Galvao. So let's go into the news section of the show.
Yeah.
Mica Galvao. So it was rumored Mica Galvao popped for Clomid, which is it does a lot of things. I'm not a doctor. Miranda's not a doctor. It's basically you can do it take it for a couple of reasons. You can take it
to boost your fertility.
To boost your fertility. That's the reason you take it. Mostly for women.
Actually, it's for women. It's
mostly men can take it too, but
men can take it too to because it elevates your estrogen, which then will elevate your testosterone.
Is it? I thought it was like something. It's something like that to deal with, and you also take it before you get on TRT. You will take it. I think after you're on TRT.
Yeah.
So again, not a doctor.
So to boost your test again. But some people start with it. It really depends.
It's a banned drug that you can take. It's a
gateway drug
for a myriad of reasons. He pops for that. And kind of people had suspected that he was the guy that Craig Jones has alluded to a couple of weeks ago. We here on the Grappling Rewind,
we don't care.
Are not really going to pass judgment on what pro athletes do to be pro athletes.
Do what you want.
That being said, he did, as a result, take a year ban, and because he went through arbitration with IBJJF, he takes a year ban versus what the other 5 athletes took. That was a 3-year ban. He basically went, "Look, my doctor prescribed this. He didn't know it was banned or whatever," and he gave the generic reason you give as a young athlete that when you get popped for taking a thing, he takes a 1-year ban. He forfeits his world championship, and
you're supposed to know what your doctor gives you, by the way.
You're supposed to,
you're
but
supposed to know.
I also want to see dudes jacked as shit doing jujitsu.
Yeah, but then just freaking own it. Be like, I'm on the shit.
Do what Wagner did. Wagner's like,
shit.
"Hey man, I'm not gonna take the test because I'm on that good shit.
I'm
40. I'm
shit.
taking testosterone." I'm actually kind of surprised that that's the only thing he popped for, given how jacked he's been for Mica.
Well, I mean, that's all he was on at the time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That makes
sense. And it could be that he just was off. I don't know what the half-life of it being in your body is either.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either.
I'm not sure.
He pops for it. As a result, the Ruotulo brothers are now the joint youngest IBJJF world champions with Tye, because Tye lost to Mica. And ADCC.
Yeah.
So it's like you have Tye and Kade being the 2 youngest grappling brothers of all time to take both those titles, which is phenomenal, or like wild, because Tye lost to Mica Galvao in the finals of Black Belt Worlds this last year when Mica popped. He popped at Worlds or popped at Pans?
He popped at Worlds.
But the test finally
I don't know
came
if
out.
they tested anybody at Pans. They were there, but I don't know if they were testing.
Nogi Pans.
Nogi Pans.
That's when everyone popped.
No, everybody popped at Nogi Worlds.
Oh,
in December.
okay, yeah. I mixed
I don't know if Gi Pans recently, if they test them or not. They were there, but I don't know.
I think they probably are testing, but we don't get the results back immediately. Usually it takes some time before they do them and
But
batch
did they
them
say
out.
they're testing everyone all the time now?
They've said they're. We have heard a couple of things. I haven't actually looked at the IBJJF or the USADA statement.
I didn't see. So
I think they're ramping up testing.
In PAN's registration, normally when you register and it's something that they're going to test you for, it's part of the registration. You have to sign it independent. Like one of the sheets of the registration is that you understand that you can be tested.
The last time I did IBJJF, that language was not in there, so that kind of says how many years I did IBJJF.
And it's shown up on when I registered for Worlds. It showed up when I registered for the Opens. It was not there.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if Pans it was there or not. But they were there because I stole a bunch of their pens because they have really cool pens.
Because I stole a bunch of their pens.
I do. I have one right here. This is.
You have a USADA pen.
This is a USADA pen. They're awesome.
So he pops for that. Some titles change hands now. He takes a 1-year suspension. Sucks to see him out for a year, but he is in BJJ Stars. That's also why we saw him in AJP.
I'm pretty sure the one time, like in his statement, he was like, "Yes, I popped. I'm taking my suspension. My doctor gave me these drugs, and I'm doing BJJ Stars." And I was like,
I was like, hey, but also look who he's facing. He's facing other guys that popped. And I'm like,
but you're also facing ginormous monsters.
Yeah. So we'll get to that in the preview section of the show. I am amped for that. It's crazy when Mica Galvao is the smallest guy in that by a bit. So that'll be a phenomenal tournament, but that is basically the news for continuing the steroid pop. We finally know who it actually was. And Craig Jones leaked this a couple of weeks ago, and kind of everyone figured out it was probably him.
because it was either him or Eric Muniz, and Eric Muniz was in Gi Worlds.
Yeah,
so
right.
it was if
he was suspended or they were in discussion, he would have usually you're barred from competition until they go through arbitration and release it, but you're notified prior to that, and then there's basically a go public date for that. Anything else on that?
No.
People do steroids in jiu-jitsu. Some people do, some people don't. Grappling Rewind is here to watch entertaining jiu-jitsu. We are not going to pass judgment either way.
Not at all.
In other news, Trinity Pun, women we've seen locally in New Jersey and United across kind of the sport for a couple of years now.
Yeah, like East Coast.
East Coast, but also like recently has been taking some big titles around the country.
Yeah.
Announced yesterday or today?
I saw it today.
I think you sent it to me today.
I sent it to him today.
She announced that she is going to New Wave with John Danaher and Gordon Ryan and like all those guys and Helena Cravar.
Yeah.
As basically, she's now the second high-level woman that's going to that camp.
She is kind of scary as fuck to watch because I watched.
You reffed a bunch of her matches.
I reffed a bunch of her matches, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, they were scary. Like she was
we've covered her for years.
And not like
on the show.
Scary, like not controlled scary.
Yeah.
Like there's a control that she has that is frightening. So
that'll be really exciting. I'm very
maybe
very
that means she won't be local, which is
out of your
positive for us local people. But
so I'm curious. Like I'm curious now that we've had two younger, and I think she's 20.
I think she's young.
25.
I think
maybe?
she's like 17, 18.
No, well, she was when we first started covering her. I think she's older now.
Because I thought I looked her up the last time I reffed one of her matches. And
she's in her early 20s, I think. But Cravar is, I think, 17 now, or something like that. So we have two younger women going to New Wave, and one of the we talked about it a couple of months ago.
She's 17 years old.
Trinity?
She was born in 2005. Oh,
no, that's not right. That can't be right. Regardless, we have two new prospect women moving over to New Wave.
She's 22.
Okay.
Fucking Tapology, man.
Didn't update the age. So it is interesting because a couple of months ago, John Danaher talked about, or somebody he either talked about it or someone asked him about why he hasn't, or what about the room hadn't created a female champion in kind of his organization yet. And we've seen a couple of women now announce the move to New Wave. Both of these women, in Cravar and Trinity Pun, absolutely have the ability to go be world champions.
She said she's splitting her time between both the schools, New York and
Orange County,
Austin.
and so that's
so,
super
but that's
exciting.
enough. That's I mean,
again, dude makes really, really good nogi champions. So I'm very, very curious. We're going to continue to cover her.
And he wanted female champions.
Yeah,
there you go.
So looking forward to that. That should be interesting. Again, camp moves. The more we do this show, the more interested I am about camp moves, because people move camps, and then typically in jiu-jitsu you see pretty wild shifts in their game, usually for the better. Usually someone that decides to make a camp move does that for a variety of reasons, but we see them kind of on-ramp to the new camp, and then immediately, once they start competing again, we see whole new facets in either their strategy or the way they handle stuff in game. And so, given how well Trinity Pun's been doing recently, I'm very curious what this new camp shift is going to bring.
Yeah.
So, super exciting news. Like Mica, let's see. Oh, Brasileiros is about a month away. In other competition news, ADCC for the Opens has announced recently, I think today, that they are going to be doing weigh-ins day before, which I love. Like a lot of tournaments, this is how it used to be.
Well, the Open, it was the day before, because remember, I weighed in the day before.
Oh, okay.
Because I hit 120 and looked like I was going to die, and then we ate Outback because I forced you guys to have Outback. I was like,
I had a great time eating Outback in Vegas.
And
the whole team got together and we ate Outback.
Yeah, because they were like, "What do you want to eat, Miranda?" And I was like, "I want a steak." And then we couldn't find anywhere to go, and I was like, "We're going to freaking Outback."
We're in Vegas, and I'm Outback. I was
I'm
okay,
eating a bloomin' onion and a wallaby darn, and it's going to be amazing.
That was
and
good.
It was.
So, but ADCC right now is actually talking about potentially for the trials, moving that way into the day before. And there's been discussion about that for years, but basically kind of the thought process is the guys like World Championships is a big deal. For the most part, everyone ends up making that weight without issue. There's occasionally, like every couple years, there's an issue.
But it's harder for the little people.
Yeah. But at the trials, because there are again, we have brackets of 200 plus people.
Yeah, that was.
You have so many more matches.
4 a day? 4 a day?
Four, depending on if
four
you're guys or not.
Yeah, 4 or 5
4 or 5 a day. If you're capping at 256 and 66 kilogram and 77 kilogram, both get close to those 200 plus caps, and that many people actually show up to the event. To be asking a guy to make weight, then have 4 or 5 really high level matches, and then the next day do it again is a giant ask. And then a few months later, have to do it at the World Championships, especially because some of those guys take a month or even longer to get down to that weight in the first place. It's a big ask, and so they're discussing doing that. In the World Championships, you actually have to make weight every single day, and that's been criticized by some of the guys on the smaller side that still want to do absolute, because because
you're cutting, and then you have to turn around and you have to fight big motherfuckers when you've just cut weight and they have.
And if you've made day 2 and the guy in the absolute doesn't make day 2, he gets eliminated like second round on day 1, then he doesn't have to weigh in because he's just doing absolute, and you as the smaller grappler in the weight class, because you made day 2, have to weigh in. So that's been criticized before, but currently that's how ADCC does it. I do go back and forth in this, because letting people cut day before and then fight, you do get a higher quality of athlete. And for trials, I think it makes a lot of sense. But for the Worlds, you kind of make guys honestly have to make that weight both days, because...
And I think, I don't know,
you get guys that are actually 66 on the day if you can make it for 2 days.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of, for World Championships, them having to be that size.
Yeah, because it turns into like a grappling tournament as opposed to a weight cutting tournament where it's like, oh, cool, you made day 2. Now you're 15 pounds bigger than the other guy who also cut a bunch of weight. Whereas, hey, day 2, man, more than love, you've got to make 66 kilos.
Like the trials are leading up to it. So if you have to cut for the trials, I get it. But like if you make the World Championships, you shouldn't be cutting. Like you shouldn't be. You have to cut, but I mean you shouldn't be cutting like 20 pounds.
Yeah, I mean you just can't do that 2 days in a row. And so
you
guys
just shouldn't do that 2 days in a row. You're gonna fucking kill yourself.
Yeah. So, but guys cut
or your liver.
Yeah.
Your liver's just gonna, or your kidneys.
Guys cut a lot of weight. I do appreciate that. The day of, for the most part, guys ride that limit, but we don't get guys that are massively larger because they're able to cut weight 2 days in a row. Typically, it evens the playing field weight-wise, which is the point of winning a 66 or 77 or even 88 kilogram title is, that morning you weighed that weight and then you competed. It makes it a little more even as opposed to turning into a weight cut competition. So I appreciate that. ADCC's discussing that, and again, I appreciate them consistently looking at the rules and looking at how they run. And
you said one of the other issues is them having to then do absolute when you've just cut a bunch of weight.
Yeah, and that still remains an issue. And potentially you can get around that by making the guys that are in the absolute weigh. Everyone that wants to do the absolute have to weigh in again and make your weight, but if they're doing absolute, it's a discussion for Mo Jassam, the promoter of ADCC, to go through. But I appreciate that he's they're having those discussions, because it makes the things that we look at in the sport a consideration, not just like we've always done it this way, this is how we're doing it. Like, nope, we recognize that we do have to make changes from time to time, and looking at all these things I think is important.
Yeah.
And I appreciate they're doing it. So, but ADCC Opens are still rolling out. There's more across the country: Denver, San Diego, Orange County, I think.
Is it San Diego or is it Orange County?
I think it's Orange County.
I think it was Orange County,
and
Denver,
Colorado. Yep,
Denver, Colorado, Denver is Colorado. And then there's Canada.
There's Mexico. There's one in Mexico.
And Mexico.
Yeah, so they're rolling out.
And they already had one in Mexico, too.
Yeah, they're rolling out, and I love that I hope we see a bunch this year, and then this following year, all the trials are happening, and we get even more
If they could come to the
Open.
East Coast, that would be fun.
Dude, I would do an ADCC Open. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah,
I would love to judge an ADCC
I fucking
Open.
did it. Dude, you did.
Yeah, but I'd love to judge. I judged the Open in Vegas. I'd love to do it again.
You need to actually do it.
I would do it, but
there's a master division.
My back is less broken now, so I'm ready to go.
Master division.
So it would be fun. Again, I love ADCC. I'm happy that they're having more opens.
Except the Masters division now is full of people who are in fact masters, but not masters.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
there's that. So
you get all of a sudden the mastermind in your division. Anyway.
So also in other news, Henry Gracie, we talked about it last week. It was kind of the headline of last week's show. Henry Gracie's statement about the case. If you want more information about it, we talked about it in a little depth last week. He put out a video which basically shows that, the move that was actually pretty dangerous. I think our position doesn't really change. It still sets a really bad precedent. He caught a lot of flack from the community about other statements, and Miranda and I last week had read the court statements.
Yeah, and he kind of did the everybody else's jiu-jitsu is shit except for mine kind of thing. He
had his statement essentially be sort of an advertisement for
himself,
their system and their industry standard.
Yeah.
And it was weird. And Miranda and I had read that last week when we were talking about it. It seems like that took a couple of days for the community to actually pull the paperwork to look at what he said in court.
A lot of times I think. At least on Reddit, they pulled his actual testimony.
Yeah, but that took a couple of days. Like, the video came out, and everyone's like, oh, he's right. And then they actually read his testimony a couple of days later, and everyone went, oh, I get why people were really upset.
Yeah, he just kind of did an advertisement for himself, and he basically said everybody else's jiu-jitsu is shit, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that.
And then he caught a lot of flack from the community, and has now donated the $100,000 that he made for his statement to some sort of...
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Some sort of charity for
gave up
spine
on
research or something. Yeah. But it happened. Again, I'm still extremely disappointed that he would, again, sell... I didn't change the name of the title. Sell jiu-jitsu down the river for $100,000, regardless of if he pocketed the money or did not.
Yeah, it just kind of sets a really shitty precedent for
the sport that we do.
For injuries forward, because you will get hurt in this sport. It will happen.
But you get hurt in any sport.
You
play pickup basketball 4 days a week. You're gonna blow a knee after 5. It's gonna happen.
You're gonna get hurt, and the fact that you think it's smart to then sue to try to make a windfall off of people that are trying to help you and help your life makes you a shit human. But you know, that's my opinion.
So we'll move on. I think that's all we got for news. Let's move into the recaps.
Okay.
Really kind of quick, kind of short week this week as far as events we really are looking to cover. We had Fight to Win that happened in San Diego. You want to talk about Baret Yoshida's match or Eldar Cruz's match?
We'll start with Eldar Cruz.
Eldar Cruz took on Kevin Crane. Dude, we've covered Kevin Crane for years. We've covered Eldar Cruz for years. I cannot imagine what it is like to face Kevin Crane.
I don't think Eldar Cruz knew what the fuck was going on. Because you could see him, he had control. He had control for the whole match. But there were times where it was like Eldar Cruz didn't know. It was almost like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And why? No, I'm not feeding into your bullshit.
Ever seen a Kevin Crane match? He's gonna screw with you, but he does it. That's why he does it, and he's very good. I judged a bunch of his matches at the ADCC Open when he took silver in the Absolute.
Yeah.
And that was a crazy. If you get a chance, go back and watch that tournament for the ADCC Open before ADCC. It's a wild Absolute.
He's a talented
he went to
fighter,
UWW and won his weight class at Worlds at UWW. He's a very talented grappler. But man, he is
a weirdo.
He is frustrating to grapple against. And so in judging a bunch of his matches, I had to watch and really pay attention to what he was doing. I'm like, man, tactically he fights like nobody else. Because he will stand at this really bladed, and he does it in this match. He does it in most of his matches.
Yeah.
He stands at this really bladed stance, like he's going to throw an Imanari roll at you, right before Imanari.
And he kind of tries them every once in a while. Yeah,
he did in this match. He tried it in Eldar. He did it as a fake. To he's a guy that will throw weird, non-committal jabs at you in grappling, and doesn't care if he ends up in a bad position.
I wonder who else does that.
Yeah, well,
I'm staring straight at you as you say that.
What's up? I appreciate his.
He
game
does
for many
that
reasons.
same shit.
I do a lot of that
all the time.
But he's so confident in getting back up from those positions that he will put himself in those spots. He's also a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah. He puts himself in side control, and then he just somehow gets out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, holy shit, he just got out.
Eldar Cruz, so
I didn't expect him to get out of Eldar Cruz's side control
there was
at all.
2 or 3 times that Eldar Cruz would get past his guard, or Kevin Crane would pull guard to a bad spot. And
he also does that weird thing where he doesn't use his hands. He uses his forearms and not his hands.
Yeah. I like that a lot but he'll bridge you up and over. He'll then get you over his hips. He'll then get you to kind of reset in his guard. But what he does that's so much weirder than everyone else is most people in that case will start playing guard. I just banged the table. Will start playing guard with you. Kevin Crane just stands the fuck up.
Yeah.
And you have to continually hold him down if you want to play guard with him, because he'll play guard for a second, and the minute you go to like reevaluate and reassess his guard, he just goes nah and like techs up on you.
Yeah.
But he does it at a weird speed where if you rush into him, he will then counter you into others. So it's like he forces everyone to play kind of like what Pedro Mourinho does.
Yeah.
He forces you to play at this weird middle range game where you need to be doing certain things to him to impose.
Yeah.
But
it's always like, too. I think also if you try to impose too much on him, then he uses that against you.
Yeah, and we've seen guys like get really aggressive on him, and he just like starts the counters and starts the rolls, and it's like it must be I've watched people, and I've watched almost every dude that faces Kevin Crane get frustrated.
He also has, he must be very full of himself. I've never talked to him before, but he comes off as a cocky motherfucker. He's
cocky, but he's just
he exudes that shit when
he's just
competes.
ready to go, and he's just
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's a good thing. Like, that's definitely like something that I would love to be able to do, but I can't. I just can't do that.
I talked to him a little bit at the Open, because we finished. He was one of the last matches. He was in the finals. I think I judged his. I think I judged his finals match, or I was on the mat over. I was a secondary for that, and I talked to him after because I'd finished my obligation with ADCC, and so I was in Grappling Rewind mode then, talking to some of the athletes, talked to him and Couch and Tackett.
You were late to the Nine Inch Nails concert.
I was late to the Nine Inch Nails concert because I was talking to Kevin Crane, and just kind of talked to him about his game, and he was like, he basically talked about, specifically Tackett was like, man, he's fucking strong, but just going into those matches, he was so, not blasé, but just unconcerned about what the other guy was going to do to him, and he was like almost like fast. He was like loose. Like he's a guy that will like wave his arms around, and like he is unbothered to be up against anyone in the world.
The only other person I know who does that is locally is like Ellis. Ellis has that weirdness about him where he's just
Ellis
like
Karadag. He's confident.
He has this weird and he has this weird style that you don't really know what the hell's about to happen, and then he'll just like do it. He does the Hindu-atine. Yeah, again, who the fuck does that? Like no one does that. He does shit that no one does.
And Crane kind of does
that, and it's the
too.
same sort of thing. It's that exude confidence, like I'm just gonna fuck you up and I don't really care.
Yeah, I will be in whatever position that you're gonna be.
People. Yeah,
and you saw at Eldar Cruz, like sometimes he would pass, and then he would start to put pressure in, and then Crane would just go, all right, time to move now.
He just kind of
he'd move him off. He'd get back to guard, and then he'd just stand back up.
Yeah,
and then he would take that weird reverse bladed stance to Cruz, and Cruz was like, I think once Cruz in I think towards the middle of the match, he hits like a kind of an arm drag variation on Kevin. Like he takes Crane down, but Crane also doesn't fight the takedown like super hard. He kind of just like is in fight to win.
And
is willing to be.
And
there.
I expected when he landed in side control there, I was like, oh, this is the end. This is the end of it.
Because we've seen so many people just Eldar just El Monstro just crushes guys from top position, and just that's the rest of the match is just Eldar Cruz grinding you from top position, but. Kevin Crane just goes, nah, and just gets out. And you're like
what the fuck is wrong?
Yeah, so go back and watch this because it's just really interesting to watch. And in a guy's game like Crane, he will just not, and he specifically, he'll talk shit to you while you're rolling. And what did he say at the Open? He was, man, I need to learn some of this jiu-jitsu stuff. And I think he armbarred a guy off his back. He does a bunch of jiu-jitsu stuff, but he does it kind of like a wrestler and a catch wrestler that like will begrudgingly do jiu-jitsu off his back, but is also doesn't do it like a jiu-jitsu guy and doesn't really care where he ends up. And so it is just this weird really effective and really difficult to deal with game because he's not. It's like whenever you fight like a new white belt, where they just do a bunch of weird stuff. You're like, okay, that actually kind of was more effective than I expected.
Yeah, but
that is
it's
Kevin
not.
Crane's
Yeah,
game.
It's,
but he's a black belt.
It's not what you're trained to see or to react
and
to.
It throws, and it seemed to throw Eldar off a little bit here, where he passed and pretty convincingly took a victory here, but didn't really have Crane in any bad spots for any length of time. And consistently you saw him like having to counter Crane and not really be able to confidently put up a ton of offense on the top. Really, I don't think any sub attempts, but has to play a positional game, takes a clean victory over Crane.
Yeah, I guess the takedown. You have the takedown.
And the 2 or 3 guard passes.
Yeah,
like
positional control.
Positional control, but it was a neat match. And again, we didn't have a ton of matches to cover this weekend. It is definitely a match if you have a minute to go back and like take a look at because
and it's only
not a lot of guys fight like Crane.
6 minutes.
Yeah, I like the 6-minute matches. Like those are that forces guys to go.
Yeah, we've said that a couple times that we enjoy 6-minute matches.
AJP did it, and we had a discussion a couple years ago with Emil and I, talking about when AJP shortened the time to like 6 or 5 minutes. We were like, oh well, the black belts don't have enough time to work, and we actually objectively watched a bunch of the matches in the King of Mats and like the Opens and the World and Grand Pro, the Grand Slam events, but also World Pro events. Yeah. And we went, oh no, these matches are amazing because there's no time. That 2 minutes that black belts have to stall or 3 minutes they have to stall just is unavailable.
The feel out time doesn't exist.
It's
so you just got to
unavailable
go.
in AJP. And so that 6-minute time I think is really amazing. And Fight to Win having it for this match made for a really entertaining match. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the main event.
And Eldar Cruz got that by a decision.
Yeah.
And it was just one ref. We don't really know why there were not.
Yeah, it was a really quick. It wasn't a 3. They didn't go to. It was kind of like.
Yeah, they didn't
finished
have,
and the ref raised, but the ref might have signaled to someone else, but it was just.
Then no one else came on the stage, and they don't have the flags.
Yeah, it was a quicker decision.
I wonder if they just didn't have the flags.
Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
But it was quick, and it was. I think it was obviously a decision for Cruz,
definitely.
But it was a quicker decision than we are used to on Fight to Win. Main event: Baret Yoshida defending his Masters Plus 35, I think 35 title against Tony Lopez. He does a heel hook that I like. Not heel hook. He does a knee bar entry to a heel hook that I absolutely
from deep
love.
half.
It's from deep half, but he doesn't even sit in deep. So Baret Yoshida finishes the heel hook here. The way that he gets to it is really interesting because he starts from the butterfly.
He fakes like a deep half pass or a deep half sweep.
Yeah, basically. And he kind of almost does it, and then he forces low. So what he does, Baret Yoshida's deep half. And he lifts up like
starts at butterfly.
He starts at butterfly.
Butterfly to deep half.
He loops under deep half, which is a really good thing that I play a lot going to X guard. But Baret Yoshida is playing it from deep half.
Yeah.
He loops his foot in. He then goes to take Tony Lopez over.
Yeah.
And he forced Lopez to base on his hands and kind of base on a foot.
Yeah.
And then he inverts under. And then he, instead of going for traditionally
the far leg,
you'd go or the close leg, right? Depending on how you see it, you go for the leg you already have with your legs. Baret Yoshida, while Tony Lopez is going over and kind of working to bridge and block the sweep, Yoshida throws his hips up and then goes to the other leg that you don't expect that's extended, rolls it through. Tony Lopez does a great job. He drops back, and then the heel slips basically, so you don't have the knee bar anymore. And as defending the knee bar, you open up the heel line.
Yeah.
Yoshida already is there, digs for the heel, and then comes under and finishes the heel hook. I have my last 2 subs in tournament are a variation of this exact thing, but from X guard, not from butterfly guard.
Yeah.
And it was just to see. I was like, recently a lot. I've been watching guys. I'm not really trying to add a ton of new things to my game personally, but I watch high-level guys like Baret Yoshida and other folks we cover on the show for reinforcement the things that I am doing are probably correct.
Yeah.
And this was a great validating moment for that.
I truthfully thought that he was going to do a back take from here. I thought he was going to go deep half sweep, somehow get on his back, and then just play the
crucifix, which
crucifix
he always
game
plays.
Because it's holiday appropriate.
It is holiday appropriate right now.
Okay.
Throwing me off. But yeah, Baret Yoshida's finished a bunch. Most of his wins on Fight to Win recently have been the crucifix choke to the assassin choke in the gi, and then even in no gi we've seen him do it a bunch. I saw him do it again. I judged one of his matches at ADCC. He got there in no gi at ADCC Open. that's what he's been playing for the past almost 2 years. And his Instagram is essentially only that, and it's amazing.
It's like him doing that to people by music. And it's like the greatest songs. Like he picks songs that are like REM, Everybody Hurts. Like, they're the songs that in my brain go, when people do these things to me. The songs I sing to myself.
Baret Yoshida's Instagram, if you're not following his Instagram, do it, because it's just crucifix chokes and music. And it's like the same 4 or 5 different crucifix chokes.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing for like a year and a half.
Yeah, and I don't think most of the guys, I'm assuming they're training partners that he's had for a while. So he shows that even though it's coming, you have no way to block it from happening.
I also love it. So I've been watching a lot of Baret Yoshida recently because I am really working to do the crucifix. Even though he doesn't get it here, he's got it in the last couple of months on Fight to Win. I've been getting better at doing like the baby hand trap that he does. And go back and watch every match for Baret Yoshida on Fight to Win, because it is essentially just a development of him hitting it with more and more and more frequency. Again, Baret Yoshida's been hitting this for damn near 20 years at this point.
Yeah, very, very long
He's been
time.
the crucifix guy. And even when he was a white belt, there's a really famous video of him in Japan Open, like raking across a guy's face to get the choke for like a minute or two. So I've been a huge fan for a long time. He gets a really neat heel hook victory that, again, is very validating for me, as it's an entry kind of variation that I do. I'm like, cool, Baret Yoshida does it.
Yeah.
It's good that I do it. I'm happy. Any kind of other thoughts either on Baret Yoshida or on the match? It was a pretty quick match.
It was
overall.
a quick match, but it was fun to watch.
Yeah. In this match earlier, there's a thing. Baret Yoshida will a lot of times from the butterfly guard, he will do a crucifix entry from the guard, from this butterfly guard. And it was interesting that he didn't do that here with Tony Lopez. I'm kind of curious. I need to watch the match again, and I will because it's Baret Yoshida. There's a really neat crucifix entry that he does there that he doesn't decide to do here. And I'm curious what Tony Lopez did that basically made Baret Yoshida not go to that front side guillotine crucifix entry.
Yeah.
That instead he decided to go under to deep half and go to this heel hook. And so I'm curious what the actual... what Lopez did on top to incentivize Yoshida to go under him versus going over top like he's been doing recently on Fight to Win.
Yep.
So I'm very curious. Again, I like watching Baret Yoshida. He's a very fun man to watch that plays a game that I try to emulate. I think that's all we got this week.
That's all we got for matches.
All right.
It's kind of a boring weekend.
It wasn't a lot of matches, but they were fun. There was some fun stuff to watch.
Well, we've had a lot of shit the last couple weeks.
We've had a lot of matches. Again, Pans is like... Coming off Pans, which is, we recap 18 matches. I probably watched 40 to 60 matches.
Yeah, I sat there all day, so.
Yeah, you were at Pans.
I was physically there watching them all.
I probably watched online like 40 or 60 matches over the weekend.
My brain wanted to explode after a while. Mm-hmm. But it was fun. It was a fun time.
Yeah. So, where's my mouse? Here we go. So, we went on to the preview section. Do you want to start with finishers or do you want to start with BJJ Stars?
Let's BJJ Stars.
Okay.
Battlefield 16.
Battlefield
10.
10.
I thought you said 16 earlier.
I think it's...
It says 10.
It does say 10. There's 16 man. 16 man.
Oh, 16 man.
16
That's
man.
what it was.
So, we have no brackets yet. There's some super fights as well. Amanda Herring takes on Ingrid Alves. We've been covering Ingrid Alves a lot recently. Very, very good younger black belt. There's also Ice Blue versus Wilson Herberto and Lucas Makin versus Zhao Hosha. Those should be fun super fights. But the reason that you're coming to BJJ Stars is the 16-man absolute. I'm going to read through the names, and then we don't have a bracket, so let's talk about some of the matches we've seen from these folks before. We have Eric Muniz. We have Kainan Duarte. We have Mica Galvao. We have Felipe Andrew. We have Victor Hugo. Roberto Cyborg Abreu, Patrick Gaudio, Gutenberg Pereira, Adam Wardzinski, Mauricio Oliveira, Devontae Johnson, Otavio Nalati, who has lost a bunch of weight, but is still probably pushing 3 bills, at least.
Yeah.
Pedro Lucas, Anderson Ferreira, that's a very small name, Guilherme Labatucci, and we have Vinicius Liberati. We cover frequently 12 of those dudes on this show.
And a bunch of them have popped for drugs recently.
And a bunch of them have popped for drugs recently, so you know it's going to be a Brazilian-style tournament.
Yeah.
So we know Cyborg's went against Kainan. I think Kainan has beat him in the gi. We know Cyborg has beat him in no gi, but this event, everyone's pictures in a gi, so we assume it's a gi event. Victor Hugo and Cyborg have gone back and forth, usually in the finals of either no-gi pans or no-gi worlds. They've gone back and forth. They have submission victories over each other. That's a really interesting one. Adam Wardzinski just came off a match against Felipe Andrew, again in the gi at Pans.
That was an amazing match. If you did not see that match, please watch it.
Yeah, that's one of the matches at Pans. It's the first, 7 minutes or 6 minutes is pretty much Felipe Andrew, doing, imposing. And then Adam Wardzinski goes, you know what? I'm going to win Pans. Yeah. Racks up 11 points. They're even on ads. Throws a cross collar in at the last 10 seconds.
His coach, the fact that if you found the video, well, there is a video, and I don't know if the camera you might have to go online and find it, but watching his coach, his checkmat coach, I'm trying to think if it's Leche or who it was, but watching his coach instruct him without saying a word, in hand movements to try to teach him what to do to beat him by an advantage, and he's sitting there hand motioning him, some of the best coaching that I think.
That's really cool.
Because he literally, there's a video.
You were Matt side for this, right?
Yeah, and I didn't see it when I was Matt side because I was paying attention to the match, but somebody had videoed. It really sucks. I forget his coach's name.
I'm looking at the face too, and I can't
Checkmat guy. And they videoed him, and because he was coaching and the girlfriend of other dude was here, and they were both coaching, he started coaching Wardzinski just with his hands because he didn't want her to hear what he was saying. Because he was trying to coach him to actually get all the points and to win the way that he won with the cross collar, because the cross collar was an advantage.
Was the last advantage.
And it was the advantage that he needed to win the match. And he's sitting there on the sidelines, basically doing a cross collar and just kind of looking at him and being and going the advantage symbol, then cross collar, advantage symbol, cross collar. I was like, that's fucking amazing coaching there.
Wild.
That you were smart enough to, number one, know not to scream it. Number two, to show something that your competitor would understand. Because you see Wardzinski look over at him, understand what he's saying, and then fucking try it.
Yeah.
That's what won the goddamn match.
It was amazing. Wardzinski takes Pans on that. So Felipe Andrew and Wardzinski have had a recent match again in the gi. This is in the gi too.
Yeah.
So in the gi, that could go either way. And Zach actually did a really, really great breakdown on the Pans recap on this show on Grappling Rewind, talking about the differences that Felipe Andrew, how he had to play versus Wardzinski, and then how later in the match that changed and Wardzinski was able to counter based on the change that Felipe Andrew made. It was a really, really cool thing that he picked up on.
Wardzinski's entire run was amazing.
Yeah. I watched a couple of his matches. I'm a huge fan. Again,
he
play
put
a similar game.
Many points up against Roberto Jimenez.
Dude.
It's so
22 or something.
many.
Did he have 22 or something?
It was so ridiculous.
It was great. That was a wild match.
And Roberto had a good run before then. But
yeah. So those guys recently went against each other. We had a great match, Cyborg versus Gutenberg Pereira, I think at Worlds recently, and it was just wild Sao Paulo passing from Cyborg.
Well, not Worlds this year. He did not do Worlds this year in the gi.
It was a major. I thought it was. I thought it was a gi match, but it might have been no gi.
Well, because he was banned from Worlds this year.
Maybe.
No, that was Pans. My bad.
Yeah, Pans.
It probably was Worlds because he was banned for Pans, and I'm thinking Pans in my head.
I think it was no gi. Pan. Whatever.
It could have been no gi pants. That was
recently. Cyborg has had a great match we talked about on the show versus Gutenberg Pereira, and it was basically a textbook of him Sao Paulo passing. And again, it's not a pass we see a ton, but it's one Cyborg does very well. He's taken a couple of victories over Gutenberg Pereira, and it was the most recent one. It was very impressive, and it was cool to see kind of how Pereira was trying to counter him, and that's a really fun match if you kind of want to see those guys match up. That was one I remember specifically.
Did Devontae Johnson do Pans? I don't think he did.
He did, or he was at least registered. I think he got knocked out
early.
Not early, but he did not make it to the final. He wasn't in the finals.
I remember seeing him running around, but I didn't remember seeing him.
I'm really curious. So Nolate, a bunch of highlights have come up for some reason for him this week on me, and somebody on Reddit posted one. And I was like, oh, that's cool. He has a background in judo. When I interviewed him, he talked about that, and everyone was like, "Where's this interview?" And I realized that I interviewed Nolate, who's on Fight to Win Baltimore, Fight to Win 70, probably 4 years ago, and I interviewed him, and then either the audio was bad, but I never ended up posting the interview.
I met him a long time ago.
He used to be a TLI guy.
Yeah, and after he was TLI, he was Roberto Traven for a minute, and then he was Checkmat.
Yes.
And then, yeah. I met him a long time ago. I remember watching him throw people and being like, "Holy shit, that's a big man."
He's like he's
a
330
big man.
or something like that. Like a lot. He's a big dude.
Yeah,
and he's got really good judo.
Yeah, I went to like a Traven. I forget who was being promoted. Somebody was being promoted under Roberto Traven, and I was there, and they do a whole thing where they throw them.
Yeah.
As part of the promotion.
Yeah.
And he was throwing.
We used to do that. Now we don't do that anymore. And I appreciate that.
Well,
we did that up to me getting purple. We did that, and then we stopped after that. So those are some of the kind of big names. Eric Munoz is also in here. He has had great matches versus Victor Hugo, versus Duarte, versus Cyborg. All of these guys are just monsters. I think so. With these names, do you have a pick here?
No, well, I will tell you one thing. I think Galvao in the gi will be held down and controlled.
I think because Mica Galvao is probably going to be the smallest guy by 20, 30 pounds here.
I think he does really. I think he does really well, period. But I think in the gi, especially going with guys that are much larger than him and more experienced than him, as long as they can control his movement, he's fucked.
So we saw him versus Hulk, who's not nearly as big, because Hulk was in the process of going down to 170 fighting PFL. And so Hulk was getting down and getting smaller. We saw Hulk versus Mica Galvao, BJJ Bet or Stars, one of the two.
I don't remember, but I remember watching it, but I don't remember which one it was.
And so basically it was eventually Mica Galvao counters a judo throw the third time that Hulk does a judo throw in the same way. He counters it to his back and chokes him. Hulk is bigger than him, but not that much bigger than him.
But he wasn't controlling him.
Yeah, and it was on the feet. Most of the match was on the feet. I think guys like Eric Muniz, Kainan Duarte, Cyborg, Victor Hugo, and Taverna Lati, Gutenberg Pereira, who is massive and very long. Like, I think, and even Felipe Andrew and Wardzinski are both big dudes. I think that
I didn't realize Wardzinski was as big as he was until he was walking around pans with his man bun. I was like, that's a really big man.
Polish dude. That's a big tattooed Polish dude that loves heavy metal. So I kind of think Galvao's in the same situation. He's a guy that would absolutely not surprise me to like prove me wrong, but I don't think he might get through a round or two, but I don't see him.
I just
don't see him being able to beat a guy of like Gutenberg Pereira's size, or like Eric Muniz, or Victor. A guy is massive, like Victor Hugo.
Yeah,
I just think that he's not going to have the physical size to impose on some of these other heavyweight absolutes in the gi.
And I think the gi. So the gi is a benefit for little people in that you can control other people, right? So like you can play guard and you can have more control of them, and you can give them more space so that you can move around. As a smaller person, the gi is easier for that respect. But the other problem is when you're past or you're in a shit position in gi as a small person,
good luck.
You're fucked because you can no longer move.
Yeah, because then you can hold you down with a crossface or like an under lapel.
Yeah, it's not like no-gi where you can still kind of move. You still have a little movement. You can wait for them to move and counter move. But with gi, if they know their grips, which none of these guys are going to be like.
Yeah, all these guys are world champion.
Exactly, they're going to hold your ass. They're going to hold your ass down. And you're not doing shit.
So that's kind of, I think, where Mica Galvao is going to have a problem. Again,
my thing about him.
Having him win I wouldn't be like surprised either, because if there's any guy that is a phenom, Galvao's a phenom, but we haven't seen him in a ton of absolutes at this level. So
I was super impressed recently by Eric Muniz.
Yeah.
I think his
match with Margali. Like, Margali looked amazing, but like...
No, but he almost got Margali's back.
Uh-huh.
And that was like, oh, like I was so excited. Like when that happened and I was surrounded by Brazilians that were like freaking losing their shit at that moment, it was fun.
Muniz was the only guy at Pans that didn't get subbed by Margali.
Yeah.
So that, again, that was a gi.
And didn't he say he bit him?
I think something happened.
He said
like
something like he bit me or something like. I think because he was trying to choke him and he was like across the mouth, and I mean, it happens.
Goes in the mouth.
It happens.
So again, Muniz. So this is a really. So
I
you have a pick here.
So I don't know. See, I have different people for different. Like, I like watching Felipe Andrew. Like,
he has a weird, fast game.
I like his game.
I think we saw Felipe Andrew versus Cyborg in the gi at Third Coast Grappling during the pandemic.
My issue with Cyborg is he's slow.
He is a little slow, but he has these bursts that a lot of guys can't deal with.
Yeah, but then you have people like I mean, he got his freaking shit armbarred. He got armbarred. Like, I don't know. Like,
so I had a problem. So for 3 years, I picked against Cyborg on the show, and then for 3 years, he won fucking everything that I picked him against.
So you need to pick him then.
Well, I want to pick Duarte. Like, I think Duarte is the guy I want to pick. I think Kynan is the safest pick here because Kynan in the gi and even no gi, like, he will get beat occasionally, but it is infrequent. And
you can go Kynan, and I'm gonna go Muniz, and we'll go from there.
You're going to go Eric Muniz?
I'm going to do Muniz.
Hugo, okay, so guys that wouldn't surprise me to take this. Cyborg, for the specified reasons. Pereira, because we've seen Pereira won BJJ Stars before and only get beat by Felipe Pena.
Yeah.
And they made that match close. And Cyborg, I mean, he beat Mergali at a BJJ Stars a couple years ago.
Felipe Andrew can be controlled in the gi, which gives him a little bit... I don't see him.
I think him and Mica Galvao are gonna be the fastest guys in this tournament.
Yeah.
Like, Felipe Andrew has some of the quickest subs of anyone above 180.
But I think their problem here is the gi and their size.
Yeah, they're gonna get outsized by some of the guys. Even like guys like Gaudio.
Victor Hugo, I think he'll make it through, but I don't think he'll win.
Yeah.
Devontae Johnson make it through, not win. Gaudio's the same way. I think those guys will make it through to like maybe second round, but not gonna.
It all kind of depends on how the
bracket
bracket shakes out. Like, if we have first round Eric Muniz versus Victor Hugo and Duarte versus Cyborg, like, well, both those one of those guys is getting knocked out. It really is super dependent on how the bracketing goes. Like, if Devontae gets, a really good first 2 rounds for him, like, stylistically, he absolutely ends up in the semifinals. And then depending on how the again, we've seen these things bracketed in a way where, like, that makes perfect sense. In other ways where it's like, ooh, one of these sides of the bracket is one of these sides has 4 world champions on it, and the other side has 1.
Sometimes it's like, oh, I wonder who they want.
Wonder who got the bracket. Yeah.
Wonder who they want in finals.
And usually BJJ Stars and BJJ Bet are pretty good about that for the most part.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, that makes sense for bracketing. And so with this many names, I kind of expect the same thing. I think that the best bet for me is either Duarte, Muniz, Hugo, or Cyborg. Seeing Galvao or Gutenberg, upset everything wouldn't surprise me. Seeing Felipe Andrew upset wouldn't surprise me. But I think my money's on the 4 I mentioned, because typically in absolutes,
pick one. I picked
Duarte.
one.
I'm picking Duarte.
Okay,
yeah, I'm picking Duarte. But again, seeing that quad, any of those 4 guys in the finals is not going to surprise me. Seeing any of them win is expected.
And I will even say like a Warzinski, like, somehow.
Yeah, I don't want to count Adam
pulling it out of his ass would not surprise me.
The only reason I'm kind of going to pick against Wardzinski is that typically he hasn't fared the best when we see him in the gi and absolute.
Yeah,
like that's my only.
And I mean,
I love his game. He wasn't a huge game close to him.
Yeah, and even watching his pans, he wasn't flawless. You know what I mean? Like, he still had a
tough match.
He still has tough parts of it. So it's like, if somebody the size of Felipe Andrew can control him, and he gets somebody who's,
he gets Eric Muniz or Victor Hugo, a size guy that has 40, 50
like,
extra
I don't
pounds.
know if you're like, you might blow a knee out trying to butterfly sweep his ass.
Or go to the extra outside De La Riva games. He plays like it. Again, as a small dude that plays that game, sometimes it's really, really hard to deal with a massive size discrepancy for these super heavyweights that are going to come in. So I'm amped for this. I'm going Duarte. You're going who? You're going Muniz? Yeah. Seeing those 2 in the finals wouldn't surprise me at all.
Do you think Muniz is going to wear his Jesus gi?
I hope he does. The classic style strong. So should be a super fun tournament. I'm amped for it. It's again one of the biggest heavyweight tournaments we've seen in forever.
I want somebody to pull out like the last BJJ Stars that we had. Like it looked like somebody spray painted the back of of a car, like the Leandro Lowe spray paint.
Yes, that was
like cross arms.
Mateus Gabriel.
Yeah,
Mateus Gabriel had that gi
like
last time.
I hope
the spray painted gi.
I hope they have the fun gis like they do. And I do also enjoy these events because there's so much excitement. Like
the Brazilian crowd gets hype.
They get hype, and there's like fights and shit, and like you don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
Felipe Pena versus Herber Santos
fight?
That was
like jumping off in the crowd and fucking hitting people and shit. Like it's gonna be fun.
So it should be a fun event. I'm amped for it. These super fights.
One day when I get money, we're gonna take Grappling Rewind on the road to BJJ Stars.
I'd go. I would definitely go. So moving on, and do you have anything else from BJJ Stars?
No, that's it.
Should be a fun event. Moving on to Finishers Survivor Series 3. This is a quintet style event. 5 teams of 5. We have teams from Finishers, we have teams from Wildcard, we have teams from Vault BJJ, Precision, and The Hive.
Yeah, I think Wildcard is just a bunch of different people from different teams.
Yeah, so some teams are gyms, some teams are named. We know.
I know they're all gyms except for the Wildcard. The Hive is a school.
Oh, yeah, okay,
they're on like the New Jersey coast. Precision's on Pennsylvania. Vault is outside of Philly, and
Finishers is
Finishers, yeah. So Wildcard is the only one because you have Dylan, who's like, I don't know where. Like,
where is Dylan now?
He's out of his garage.
Let's go through the teams. Let's start with Finishers because they're listed first. Again, Zach
and that's not me. That's not me trying to be mean.
He runs a gym out of
his garage.
So Zach Maslany does a great job running this event, and we are lucky enough to have like team lineups beforehand. So Finishers team is Renee Souza, who just recently had a really great performance versus Kieran Kurchik, where come from behind win at the end, but hits a really great knee bar on Kieran at who's number 1.
Yeah.
He's also been doing a lot of stuff with Craig Jones after he was on his team for Who's Next. When we did the seminar for Craig Jones, Renee was the uke, and they had a relationship, and it looked like he had been training off and on with Craig and like been picking up a lot of stuff from him. We have Quinn Poirier, we have Sid Travallo, we have Jordan Giuliano, and we have Will Garcia. We know a lot of these folks because we're local to the Baltimore, PA area, and so we know most of these folks. I've done commentary for most of these folks' matches over the years for various promotions that I do commentary for locally, and you have too as well.
Yep.
Team Wildcard, we have Andrew Cockle, we have Dylan Masington, we have Luke, I can never get his last name, him and his brother's last name, Simons, Chamoz, and Zach Chamoz. We have Alexandro Moraga. For Vault BJJ, we have Charlie Livingston, we have Caleb Livingston, we have Colin Cronin, we have Zach Gailani.
We'll go with that.
And Nick Wiley, who always comes out in the singlet.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of commentary.
What's really weird
matches.
is like I don't think he has I think he wrestled for a bit in college, but not high level. Like he's not.
But he embraces it, and I appreciate it.
He embraces the singlet, which I think every man should embrace a singlet, but that's just me.
For Precision Jiu-Jitsu, we have Mike Padilla, we have Royce. I always thought it was Dylan Royce. It's not.
Nope,
it's Royce Dillon.
It's Royce Dillon.
We've only covered him since Fight to Win.
I thought it was hilarious.
50.
He did East Coast Trials and then did a super fight that night on the same day. Because I remember seeing him and being like, "Holy shit, dude has a super fight tonight, and he's doing trials."
You told me that at East Coast Trials. And I was like, no, he fucking doesn't. I looked it up. I was like, oh my god, he does. And I was like, he's gonna pull out, and he didn't. And then I think he won.
Yeah. Yeah,
which was like,
it was wild.
Dude, he competes a lot. He was undefeated on Fight to Win for a while, and then
he trains
went against
up with
JT Torres.
Yeah, he trains up with the movement arts guys all the time. Yeah, and so I always see him show up there.
Really good heavyweight. And so Mike Padilla, same thing. Like both these guys, go back and watch their Fight to Win matches. Probably 2 or 3 years ago, they had phenomenal runs on Fight to Win that they just kind of stepped up and up in levels of competition and some great matches. In this team, we have Matt Fox, we have Pete Shoemaker, we have Mike Bachman, and then for the Hive team, we have Chris Emery, TJ Salez, we have Jake Carlito, we have Matt Gosling, and we have Zayad Punter. This should be really fun. These are always really, really hard to like pick because we don't know how the teams are like who's gonna get who.
The other thing is it one match and you have to move on to the next person, or can one stay in?
I forget how Finishers Survivor Series does it.
Does their own thing.
It used to be, I think it used to be Quintet style.
Yeah.
But now you may be able to swap guys in unless a guy has been eliminated. So, so the Quintet style is basically 2 teams of 5 people that weigh. Your aggregate team weighs the same thing. Finishers typically does it where the guys all weigh the same weight, where it's like everyone's lightweight, everyone's middleweight, but they've also done them Quintet style where everyone has to be under 800 pounds or whatever your team weight has to be. There are 2 ways that these things can run. One, the first person from each team comes out. If there's a draw, both people are eliminated, and you go to the next member of the team. If there is a submission victory, then the person that submitted stays in for the team, and it eliminates the person that got submitted, and then the person on the team of the person that got submitted, the next person comes out to face the person that just submitted them. So basically, you eliminate the team where one person could potentially eliminate, like Lachlan did in one of these, every member by submitting all of them, and then 4 people on your team didn't have to go, and they're fresh for the next round.
Okay, here we go. Okay. All matches are 8 minutes and will not end if one person is caught in a submission.
So if the time ends and they're in the sub, they keep going to the escape, which I love that finishers out of that rule. That's you can't be saved by the bell, essentially, if it's like a boxing thing.
Team finals are 10 minutes. If no submission occurs, the match is a draw and both competitors are out.
Okay.
In the final, 2 competitors on each team end in a draw. The opposing team gets to choose a member from the other team to go. Yeah. So they do it that way.
Yep.
So
you basically will pick if it's a draw,
rules,
if it's a draw, you pick the weakest member of each team. Each team gets to pick who they want the other team to field.
You may not choose either of the 2 competitors who just did the last match. So that fixes the issue that B team had when they did against 10th Planet at Combat Worlds.
It's
Combat Worlds.
Quintet style Combat Worlds.
Yeah, when they just picked the guys that just went and they were like,
I'm tired.
Yeah. So, yeah. No.
But is it single elimination?
Ooh, no heel hooks or twisting leg locks.
Interesting.
No Aoki locks.
And that's a Quintet rule.
Or any other weird named leg lock that isn't either a straight ankle or a knee bar.
Is that written in the rules?
Yeah, I'm reading it. I
love the finishing
That's amazing. I'm literally reading the rules right. No slamming, no scissor leg takedowns, straight ankles, and knee bars are okay. Twisters and flying submissions are okay.
Okay. So basically,
so you're gonna let
it's Quintet rules.
Yeah.
So Quintet and we've talked about it when we first covered Quintet. Oh, so Quintet allows toe holds.
They said no toe holds. They're going to allow calf slicers.
Okay, so basically to avoid Quintet to avoid just everyone going to leg spaghetti for the entire match was like, look, you can do straight ankle locks.
That makes sense.
Because
if not, we're going to have the
30 minutes of 2 guys double-seated open guard playing with feet, which again I think is great time and again. But I do appreciate Quintet was like, look, we want to see more positional grappling because it's easier to explain to the audience. And so none of these certain leg locks, you can go for leg locks when you have Craig Jones finishing knee bars and ankle locks in Quintet, but we want to see the positional game as well. And I think Quintet, when we watched that rule set, it was very, very interesting. And I think it's worked out very, very well. So finishers has adopted that. We still, from that rule, we don't know if the person that wins has to stay on.
It doesn't say.
Or if you can swap another fresh member of your team for another member. And that's something finishers has done before. But regardless, you're trying to eliminate the other team and then move on. And so one team will get a pony or they'll do round robin. It kind of depends on how they decide to do it. But it should be a very, very fun tournament. We also have some super fights on this. Yeah. We have Sergio Vilas, a local Crazy 88 guy from us, versus Steve Joachim from Illuminati. That's a 205-pound title. That should be fun. Also, we have Kyle Myers versus Chris Dempsey.
For whatever reason, it's not there, and I don't know, maybe it doesn't exist anymore, but online it says it's supposed to be Trinity Pun versus Nicole Matthews.
Oh, that'll be a really good match. But if that match is happening.
Yeah, but I mean, last time they posted it, it's there, but it's not on the Float Grappling.
We just saw Matthews versus... on Rise 11,
Peyton
Letcher.
Yeah,
she looked really good.
I don't think she's hurt because I've seen her on Instagram still training.
She looked fine. So maybe Trinity's out, but that should be a really, really fun match. I mean, Nicole is a gangster competitor, and so is Trinity. So that would be a really, really fun.
I'm trying to think if they won against. They may or may not have won against each other at the thing that
at Rise.
No, at the Hammer Grappling. They were both on different teams, but I don't think they went against each other.
Did Nicole go against Trinity, or was she on the other side of the bracket?
I don't remember. I don't remember seeing them go against
Trinity
each other.
Took third, and I watched her third place match, and I remember her earlier match.
Oh, you're talking about
on Rise.
You're talking about on Rise. No, they never went against each other.
Okay, so on opposite sides of the bracket.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if they just went against each other.
No,
if they wanted to do it
Peyton
again.
lost, or Trinity lost to Peyton.
Okay.
And then she went down to the third place
and
match.
Hit that really
and
cool
Nicole,
armbar.
won against the other chick that then Trinity won against.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, again, should be a really, really fun event. Finishers puts on fun events. I love these Quintet style events. They are a bit hard for us to cover.
And that's this weekend?
Yeah, that's the 16th, I think.
Maybe I'll wander up there and watch it. Something to do. It's an hour and a half from my house.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's close to.
It's probably like 2 hours from you.
Two and a half, I think.
It's probably
from me
two
now.
And some change from you.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, if I get a chance, I might go up there. But I think I have something that's important this weekend.
That you're like.
And I have a conference for work this week.
I forgot about something.
Well, I have a conference for work this week,
okay.
and so I won't be.
See, I was in a conference last week, so.
Fun. So that's what we got for previews this week. It should be, again, two events, BJJ Stars and Survivor Series.
There's also a fight to win, but we don't know who's on it.
Yeah. Again, Fight to Win's been a lot of fun. They're on Fight TV still. Yeah. They've been putting on fun main events, but that's all we know right now. Anything fun got planned for the week?
I don't think so. I think I'm finally, I've been traveling a lot for work, and I finally have a week where I'm not traveling that much. I have to go to Jersey at some point this week, but that's it.
I'm traveling midweek for work, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I should be back the weekend. It's first time I've traveled for work in, I think, 7 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just have jobs that haven't had me travel, or day trips, or I had to do long day trips places. But first time I've done overnight travel in probably 6 or 7 years, and then the previous job was overnight travel every week for usually 3 to 4 weeks a month.
Yeah,
travel.
I had a conference in New Orleans, and I trained at a gym there, and it was interesting. Let's just say it that way.
Interesting in New Orleans.
Very interesting up in New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm actually going up to PA for this conference for work. So I'm looking to go travel up and train in PA.
There's a bunch of freaking spots up there.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'll talk to you after the show. Where should I travel and train? So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, not a whole lot going on this week. I realized that I probably have to pack now, and I was like, oh right, I have to do that for work now.
Yeah, you have to pack and have clothes.
Yeah, that's basically I'm I'd been conference clothes for a couple of days, and also
it depends
2 days
because
of Nogi stuff.
So I packed conference clothes thinking that we had to actually dress up for a conference, and then I get there and people are not dressed up at all.
Yeah, but it's my first conference in a couple of years.
Well, yeah, and
I want to be presentable.
I work in defense law, which is a whole nother world. We don't give a shit in defense law. So
yeah,
there'll be people dressed up, and there'll be people just not, and just the way it is. So
yeah, I do government work, so I'm gonna.
Well, I do government too, but we're a little bit different.
More presentable until I figure out the lay of the land for this new organization.
I mean, my boss played a song in his opening address to the country.
There is that,
or not the country, but the country of attorneys that were there.
So should be fun. I got nothing else planned this week. It should be fun.
Yeah, training and training, and hopefully some purple belts show up so I can actually have competitive matches one of these days.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, no one's registering anywhere unless you're a super heavy, and I'm sorry, I'm not super.
I've done it before. I'm not doing it again.
Nope, not doing it anytime soon. My back is not made for super heavy.
Yep. So, all right. Well, that's all we got. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine. My co-host,
Miranda.
We have the grappling runs to the mat. Whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.